Suddenly Cimo is here talking to me. Hi.
Why am I back here? I am humiliated, mortified. Why did you ask me back for this? Is this redemption?
You haven't recovered from the restricted list thing, have you?
No, I haven't. That might shock you, actually. No, I haven't.
Actually, yeah, it does shock me. You took that pretty hard. I absolutely did damage to you. And you know what? I'm not sorry, but I am extending an olive branch. This is potentially an easy one. Yeah, okay. This is potentially an easy one.
Potentially qualifying word there. All right.
I mean, there are some ways to not be wrong in today's video.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Maybe you'll find a way. I don't know. Foundations. Foundations is a new set that just got released on MTG Arena, and its official release date in stores is 2 days from now at the time we're recording. It'll be out by the time people watch this. And it's something new in Magic, something that Magic has never really done before, although you may not be impressed. It is a standard legal set that is going to be legal for 5 years.
Whoa, 5 years. Tell me more, CGB.
You get to play with your cards for 5 years. Are you impressed?
We get to play with ours for 25, so no, not particularly. That is kind of neat, though, I will say. I mean, because typically the cycle's like 2 years on your cards?
It was 2 years. They moved it to 3 years, but even at this point, like 5 years is unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of.
I was going to say, if there's some cards in there that you guys aren't fans of, you're stuck with them.
Yes, that is correct. So every card you see today, I'm going to be showing you from Foundations. Some are reprints. This card features a lot of reprints of cards through Magic's history, and that's kind of exciting. I think a lot of beloved cards are back that people are excited about. You are going to try to guess when I show you a card if it's a reprint or not. Okay. And then some of the cards are new. And it's kind of wild that they would print cards that might be really good and then say they're going to be legal for 5 years, right? Like it's bold. It's a bold move for Magic.
Yu-Gi-Oh does that every set, so I mean, we're kind of used
but
to
you
it.
guys have, it's no controversy when you ban. Like, people kind of expect it, right?
I guess that's true.
Yeah, like if a Mythic out of Foundations gets quickly banned, I think that would do a lot of damage to the value promise of the set. It's like been released on this value promise that you will play these cards for 5 years. Right? So that's kind of...
Yeah. Anyway.
That's a thing. That's a thing.
07s in the comments for anyone who's played Yu-Gi-Oh and bought secret rares that were $200+ and had them banned very shortly after that. So this will be interesting for sure. It'll definitely set the tone for Magic for the foreseeable future. So
we're Magic players, okay? We're really soft. We're incredibly soft.
I was about to say you seem really quite coddled
mad.
Comparatively. Yeah. I think the Yu-Gi-Oh community is has quite thicker skin because we're used to just taking it at the end of the day. But all right, what do you got? What do you got?
All right, well, we'll start off with this one. And remember, 2 levels. Is this an old card, a reprint, or is this a new card? And is this card good?
Okay, got it.
Yeah, if the card, of course, is new, we don't really know yet. And I'm basically leaning on you to help me understand them.
Got it.
Because I've given up. I'll just let you know. I gave up completely on figuring out if cards are good or not without playing them. I have a reputation of saying Sheldred's bad, Fable's bad. It's over. I'm just done with that.
Well, apparently you're not the only one, so that makes 2 of us. All right, what do we got? Anthem of Champions. This is a green and a white enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. So I have to figure out if this is a reprint, which would make it an old card, or I have to say it's a new card, and if it is, we have to figure out how good it is. That's what my goal is here.
Yep, that's today's jam. It's going to be fun.
All right. I already hate we're starting off with this, because this, to me, seems like something that would be a no-brainer that has existed in Magic for quite some time. I find it impossible to believe that in the 30 years of Magic, they have never printed a card that says creatures you control get +1/+1. Now, where you're probably messing with me on this, if I had to guess, is they have done this before, but it's not in these colors, right? It's probably, or it's like maybe not. I was gonna say it's not an enchantment, but I still find that hard to believe. Like maybe they've made this as like a white enchantment before or a green enchantment before, but wait, now it's 2 colors. Oh my god, I already hate this video. Okay.
Come on, it's just a friendly little romp of figuring. And we're just talking some cards. We're just talking cards.
You and I just finished recording on my channel, and you were complaining equally about. I'm not going to go there. Okay.
Complaining me. I resent this remark.
Never.
I would never, ever. What do you think?
Like I said, I find it impossible to believe that Magic has never printed this card. So there has to be a gimmick here. Like I said, it's either this is a reprint or they had this effect before, but it was just like different colors, different mana costs. Like maybe this was 2 mana and a white before, right? Like 2 of anything in a white versus it being a green and a white. Because now if you're adding a second color, like maybe that is fair in place of it being 2 generic. Or it could be green. So it's like 2 generic and a green, right? Or 1 generic and a green. I don't know.
Yeah, something
like that. So now the mind games begin. Now I have to start getting into your head to figure out, are you purposely showing me this because you're just trying to mess with me? And obviously that's the line of thinking that I would be going down.
What if I'm just doing it because the file I meant to show you wouldn't load?
That would be the funniest reason out of all, because then I can't get into your psyche to figure out how you're trying to mess with me. I want to say it's a reprint. I really, really just want to say it's a reprint. I think that's the easiest answer here. And some of these are going to be reprints. It is not a case where, I mean, you could show me 10 brand new cards. That is possible. I think out of everything you're showing me, this is a generic enough effect that I'm going to immediately fall on the sword and say that this is, in fact, a reprint. And I can't wait for you to tell me that I was exactly right and this card has already existed, but it was never at this cost or this rate. Final answer.
Ouch. I can't believe you would think I would do that. So this card has existed before, but never exactly at this cost and this rate. Yeah, this is a brand new card. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, great. Great. How do I predict how it's going to unfold and then still step on the rake? I don't know how.
Because you can't live with yourself if it goes the other way. That's why. Because you're that smart. That's why.
Give me context. What is the old version of this card? Can you at least you're showing it me here. Okay.
Yep,
so
here you go.
It was 1 in a white and it was just white creatures. And then this was I was almost dead on. I was almost except instead of being 2 generic and a white, it's 1 and 2 white. Okay. Wow.
Yep.
All right.
So, yeah, there was Honor the Pure, and there was Glorious Anthem, and there's a bunch of other ways, honestly, to give your creatures +1/+1. And I agree with you. This was one of the early reveals for Foundations that they put out when they were trying to hype the set when it was first announced. And this feels like a card that should have, could have, would have existed. Right? It doesn't feel particularly novel. I suppose technically, actually.
But now you can play 8 of these cards, so now everything can get +8/+8. Think about it.
It's possible. So, like, that's the next part. This is the best version of this effect, assuming the color restriction can get met. Because giving all creatures instead of white creatures is a big deal. Doing it at 2 mana instead of 3 mana is a big deal. Do you think this card is good? So at this point, context, Foundations has been out on Arena for 24 hours. So
we have no idea.
Yeah, I haven't played with most of these cards. I've had a more insight to this set than most people. I had early access to the card file for a while to build decks for a show I did, Shuffle Up and Play, on the Professor's channel, Tolarian Community College. You can watch that if you want to. So I got to see these cards early, but I still haven't played with or against this card.
So how good has Glorious Anthem and Honor the Pure been historically?
Yeah, that's a great question. They've each had their moments where they were good. Honor the Pure, I would say, like both of them have had these moments in Magic where they are good. But they've also had moments like it's always in like one deck, right? There's always
Right.
that one deck that is the best cheap creatures of that type.
Sure.
That really cooks, and these cards are good there.
And that's the vibe I get. I feel like if there's a deck that can put a lot of stuff on the field very cheap, they're already small, then like a card like this, especially because of the rate that you have to pay for something like this, I feel like that could actually be pretty good. Like maybe there's a really aggressive deck that plays a bunch of really cheap stuff that can just like go in really quick. It goes wide, so it's hard to like, spot remove anything. You kind of need board wipes. I don't know. Like I could see it, but I kind of in your camp where I see it being played in like a or two particular decks, and like that's it. I don't see this being like crazy, and every deck is playing 4 of this.
Yeah, actually, this is another card that's legal in Standard now, War Leader's Call, that sees play in a deck of that type, and you can see it's a very similar effect, but it's got that burn element to it,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah. And then if you're playing like 3 colors, then yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could play some really aggressive like tri-colored deck with all these. I don't know. But you need creatures to win the game at the end of the day. So
yeah, and I am rarely the Magic player who's gonna stop everything and play the the oops all creature strategy. So I'm sure I'll try it eventually. But it's a very exciting card, Anthem of Champions. We're gonna see how it does.
Great. The tone of this video has been set. Let's find the next rake.
Sure. I've got another rake right here.
Excellent.
Maybe these cards can go together. You can sense like I'm trying to show you a little theme here.
Oh, are you? Interesting. Heir Apparent. That's funny. 1 and a white, 2/2 for a Rabbit Noble. That's so funny. When this creature enters, create a number of 1/1 white rabbit creature tokens equal to the number of other creatures you control named Heir Apparent. Apparent? I don't fucking know how to say that.
No, you're doing it.
A deck can have any number of cards. That's fun. I like that they have this mechanic that you can just play like 90 of these if you really wanted to. Not that you would, but
sure.
Or maybe you do. Maybe you do. Like,
no, you can do that. You can't get milled if you do that.
That's true. I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh has a mechanic like that that lets you play like in the rules text of the card that lets you play like extra copies of it, as far as I know. So that's just like a neat little thing that you guys can do.
What do you think?
I'm already sensing where I'm gonna land on this one again. I don't know. So now here we go with the mind game. It's not even about the card. It's not even about the card at this point. It's about like you already showed me a card that was so obviously bait, and I took that anyway. That I'm gonna look at this and be like, oh, he's not gonna show me 2 new cards in a row, right? And that's what I'm gonna say. And then this has been a card that's been reprinted before. In some capacity. Who knows? It's still too early on to decide. I think this one's hard. I feel like it's hard to say whether or not this existed prior, because it could be anything, historically in Magic. I don't know the lore behind rabbits in Magic and,
Sure.
how frequently rabbit creatures make their way into the game and such. I guess if there's like
have always been powerful. No,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. You're gonna play with the big dragon, or you're gonna play with the rabbit, right? I'm sure that's a tough choice for a lot of people.
I wonder what the first rabbit in Magic was. Anyway, continue.
I'm sure someone in the comments has already written it. I guess like I'm going to lean towards that this is new because I have very limited context here. If, let's say historically they have printed rabbit cards before, right? If they're trying to incentivize people to like play, with the new stuff, now that I'm thinking about it that way, if they're incentivizing people to play with the new stuff, they want to have stuff, especially to go with that new card that helps you go wide. So that could be like, oh, we're going to select this and we're going to have like this sort of like rabbit theme, as part of the set. How big is the set? Like how many cards are we talking?
It's actually pretty huge. It's a very big set. Bigger than I think people ever expected. I want to say if you put together like the base set, the jumpstart set, and the beginner deck set, we're looking at like 600 cards.
That's gigantic. Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot.
I'm in one of two camps. Either there's already been enough rabbit support in the game, and they're just handpicking this to go into this set as to like a sort of like rabbit subtype theme. Cool. Or they have rabbit stuff in here that they already handpicked, and they had to create this card to have more rabbit support, right? But I guess it's equal to the number of other creatures you control. You don't need rabbits already, so it's anything. It's just making you more rabbits.
It's the number of other creatures you control that are named heir apparent. So
that are named
you want,
right?
Yeah, you want
this.
as many of this as you can get. This is the ultimate bunny multiplier, and you can play as many in a deck as you want.
I'm not going to fall for your trickery. This card already exists.
Not this time.
This card already exists. There is someone who has made the Rabbit Commander deck, and this is one of the nobles that's consulted in that strategy. This already exists. You can't fool me. Not going to show me 2 new cards in a row. Final answer.
Dude, this is a new card.
Oh my god.
There's never been a heir apparent until now. So anyway, some bunnies here. This card is actually pretty hyped. I am curious what you think. Like, how good do you think it is to have a deck with like 30 of these? Of where you're just casting it and there's more and more and more.
I gotta be honest with you, by Yu-Gi-Oh standards, this card is like unplayable. This card is
unplayable.
Like awful. This card is terrible. They would never play a card like this in Yu-Gi-Oh. Even if it was 0, they still would never play this card. This card just, I don't know. This is not screaming Yu-Gi-Oh card to me, but our games are vastly different. So why is this hyped up? What's the logic?
Because people are crazy.
Oh, good. Okay.
So first of all, if you're going to play Arena, one of the fun things about Arena is that if you craft 4 copies of a card that says you can have any number, it just grants you infinite.
Oh, that's nice.
As much as you can put in a deck. So this is a common. You can tell because the set symbol is black and there's a C next to the set number. So that means it's only 4 common wild cards, and you could probably put 30 of these in a deck along with some Anthems of Champions or some War Leaders calls and just see how many games you win. I mean, it's kind of stupid, mind-numbing, and repetitive, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it, but there are some people who like really get into this stuff.
Sure.
In a way that I am constantly shocked by. But yeah, Heir Apparent is a new Foundations card, and in paper, drastically harder to play as you have to collect all the Heirs Apparent. But they are common. It's also, people are way too hyped about this in Commander. I've already heard of so many stories of people who like can't wait to have 40 Heir Apparents in their deck. And I'm like, what?
Why?
Why? Tell me why.
Answer me this. Is there at least other rabbit cards in Magic? This is not the only one. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least I was kind of on the right track.
So Bloomborough is a set from recently, August of this year. And it was the first set to use rabbits as a major type. Not the first set to have a rabbit, before you guys correct me in comments, but to really focus on rabbits as a specific creature type with a lot of benefits for having rabbits. So yeah, rabbits are actually cooking right now. There are a lot of options to play with your Heir Apparents, and it might be one of the stronger go wide types.
Makes sense.
So I don't know. So yeah, people are like oddly excited about this. I don't think it'll win that many games, but I'm curious because if it does, it's going to be the easiest deck to craft, and they can play it for 5 years. It'll be so cheap.
True. I guess that's
so
true.
cheap.
It's in my mind, it's just like play a board wipe. Like I don't get it. That's kind of how I see this. But you know what? If people want to have fun with their rabbits, that's fine. You continue to dangle the carrot in front of me, CGB, and I apparently am not falling for it. I'm apparently not falling for it. All right, I'm sorry. I am falling for it. I keep walking into it.
You're basically batting, swinging at the carrot, and it's just not working out for you. Very sad. Very sad. Let's do this card. I'm excited to see what you think of this one.
I'm just gonna flip a coin. Honestly, that'd probably be better than my intuition at this point.
It might be. You should try it.
Tiny Bones, the Bauble Burglar. That's fun to say. 1 in a black. It is a legendary skeleton rogue. 1/3. When an opponent discards a card, exile it from their graveyard with a stash counter on it. During your turn, you may play cards you don't own with stash counters on them from exile, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those. And then for 3 and a black, and you tap this, each opponent discards a card. Activate only as a sorcery. This card's cool. This is neat.
Oh, yeah? You think this sounds fun?
This is a neat card. Yeah, like, I wouldn't say this is, like, a Yu-Gi-Oh card necessarily, but it, like, compared to some of the other things you've shown me, this seems more Yu-Gi-Oh-esque in terms of it just doing fun stuff where you get to take your opponent's stuff.
I mean, would that card be good in Yu-Gi-Oh? A cheap little critter that like made their graveyard basically anything that went to their graveyard you could potentially cast?
Funny you mention that. Well, we have cards that make it that anything that goes to the graveyard gets exiled. I don't know if we necessarily have a card that does it all in one. There might be a card that makes stuff get exiled, and then there's other cards that you might be able to, like, take stuff from exiled, but that would... Yeah, like, there might be, like, multiple steps to it. I don't think there's a singular card that does it all, I will say.
It seems like that would be good in Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know. I'm still not the expert. You are.
I'm trying to think if how this would equate to Yu-Gi-Oh. It obviously would be free. It'd probably be a normal summon because the stats are so low. So you'd play it. You could force each opponent to discard a card. That's already bad, but it gets exiled, so it's not terrible because stuff going to the graveyard in Yu-Gi-Oh is typically bad for you because so much graveyard interaction. Then you could take the stuff. They get to choose what they're discarding. If you're playing like a mirror match, this could be really good, potentially. Because then you could like trigger their thing on your field and then, or activate their thing that like helps your deck anyway. So it's kind of like you're playing extra copies of things. So that would actually be kind of interesting. But I don't think we really have a card that does anything like that, to be honest.
It also works off of any discard. So any cards that they're using to discard to pay costs or get effects, like Tiny Bones will see those cards as well and exile them as well. And anything that, like, if they wanted it to go to the graveyard to trigger something, it wouldn't go to the graveyard at all. It would be exiled instead.
The biggest thing is with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have a lot of discard cards out of the opponent's hand. Usually it's a lot of, if you're going to discard cards, you're doing it like at your own volition, like you're choosing to discard them for like an effect or something. Just because the hand in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so sacred most of the time. Typically, those types of effects are really overpowered and get banned because they are typically abused in many ways. And I haven't shown you like some of the worst offenders yet, but we'll get to those ones.
I mean, apparently, unless they're witches strike, but that's a different video.
Anyway, this is a cool guy. Again, it's so hard to evaluate if this is like new or not. This seems like a rather unique effect for what it's worth, but like, sure, they could have there's 30 years of Magic to go through. So like, sure, they could have chosen to include this. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's new. I think it's like just a neat little guy, the whole package and everything. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, he's new.
Hey, we're on the board.
Well played. And I'm really curious. So I got to play this in a draft in Limited, and it was very mean.
In Limited, this would be crazy. In Limited, I feel like this would be crazy.
I had 4 other discard effects, 2 of which let me pick any card from my opponent's hand. That's really mean.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tiny Bones was an absolute killer. I'm very curious if it sees some play. Also, there's a lot of cards in Magic Standard right now that rely on you discarding cards. There's a lot of cards that say draw a card, then discard a card, right? As part of like its effect or cost, that this would absolutely yoink those cards. So also a lot of like reanimator strategy where they try to discard big monster, then bring it back to the battlefield with another spell. And this would totally nerf that. Yeah. So
I was thinking about that
curious.
as well.
Yeah, Tiny Bones, I think, might be a good little burglar. He seems so cool to me. I think he's going to be
even if he's like
good.
A side deck card, like I think that would be fine too.
Yeah, 5 years with this. It will kind of be interesting if someday there's like a deck with some cards that need to discard things to do its thing, and Tiny Bones might be really nasty to those. Like,
it's more
really
unique than just like exile cards that go to the graveyard, right? It just does something else, and I appreciate that creativity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tiny Bones is a cool little dude. I don't think he's busted, but he does seem like he's going to get play. I think he's going to get play.
He seems good. Yeah. I would be shocked if this didn't see play from my perspective.
I want to see what you think of this card. Let's see.
Okay. Hidetsugu's second right. 3 and a red for an instant. If target player has exactly 10 life, Hidetsugu's second right deals 10 damage to that player. Whoa! So basically, if they're dead on, you could just kill them. Interesting. That seems bad.
Bad. You get 20 life in Magic.
I know. I'm aware.
Yeah, some of the audience, if they're hanging in there.
I'll give you your thumbnail if that's the case. But this is okay. So this is weird because I'm trying to equate this to Yu-Gi-Oh. In Yu-Gi-Oh, this would be if your opponent has exactly 4,000 life points. 4,000 is half of 8,000, which is what you start with. You just kill them. And
doesn't that seem good?
Not really, because Yu-Gi-Oh, the math sort of flies all over the place. It's I don't know if there's ever really. I think there's a few cards that require life points to be at specific thresholds. There's a few that come to mind. Like last turn, I've showed you that. Like that requires, but it's 10. It's target player has exactly 10 life, so but it's only dealing the damage to that player. So unless there's a reason you do it to yourself, ideally you're trying to do it to your opponent.
Seems like a bad idea to do it to yourself.
It's weird because like if you don't get them at 10, this card does nothing. Like this card is just awful. It doesn't do anything.
True. Yeah.
And like obviously, I would imagine the way you're trying to play this is you're trying to play some sort of burn deck that you can manipulate your opponent's life in such a way to get it to 10, and then you just try to instantly kill them with this. The problem is it's a card that's doing nothing until you actually get it to that point. So is that worth you playing it? Yes, I mean, it's a huge payoff because technically it wins you the game unless your opponent counters this. But like, I could never see this card being played in Yu-Gi-Oh! They could probably print this, and I don't think it would see any play. I think it's not particularly good. Also, they can counter it. Also, life gain, from my understanding, is not uncommon in Magic. And, like, so if you're playing up against an opponent that also can control their life total to a degree, whether they increase or decrease it, so, like, you could make your life go back up, or you can even take some damage to make your life go down. And now all of a sudden, if you're a burn deck, you're not going to give your opponent life just to like kill them with this, unless there's a card that has like a dual function to do that or something like that. But then you're just going through all the hoops at this point. I don't think this is particularly good, to be honest. I think this card's pretty bad. I think if I was playing Burn, I would rather, and maybe it's just the way that our games are different, I would rather just play 4 copies of another card that's going to guarantee to get burn damage in, rather than rely on this card to hopefully get me there. If you draw this and they're not at 10 life, they're below 10 life, like in the worst case scenario, then you're gonna hate yourself because it doesn't do anything.
Oh God. Oh God. Yeah. You're speaking truth. That's for sure. Imagine you get them to 9 and you top deck this.
So, with that said, do I think this is a reprint or a new card? The fact that it's a named character, it says it's his second right. You know, this could be that it's a new card, and you know that's why they're referencing it. Or he could have already had his second right, and this is like his third right. Getting reprinted again, potentially. I don't know, man.
But does it feel like a modern Magic card?
That's kind of what I'm weighing. I'm kind of weighing if they would print this now or if they would have printed this before. This feels like something they would bait people into wanting to try to play Burn with like 10 years ago. Like this screams bad card that people are like, oh man, like I can't wait to get him a 10 life and get him with this one. And then it's all like no play. I don't know if they would print something, but also 10 damage is a lot. So maybe they'd be afraid to print a card back then that does 10 damage for a single card. Granted, it costs 4 and it's an instant. I don't know. This kind of screams like bad old card to me. That's like the vibe I'm getting. I'll go with that. If this is new and this is actually his second right, so be it. I think this is like a bad old card. Final answer.
No, you nailed it. You're good.
Oh,
you got
okay.
it. But think more like 25 years ago, not 10 years ago.
Old?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
God.
from Kamigawa. It's from Kamigawa the first time.
For what it's worth, this old art's way cooler. I'm just gonna say that.
I fully agree. 100% agree. But it's kind of, this card is like such an ultimate bait. And I remember from back in those days, I regret to inform you, there was a time in my life, for some reason, I thought this card might be busted. And so, of course, I tried to build like a burn deck where this is just like, you know, you get them to 10 by turn 4 and you play this and you win. And it was all the things, man. It was all the horrible things you said went wrong. All of it, trying to make it work. You'd be in that spot where it's like, well, okay, I can get them to 6. Do I do it and hope to draw a card that gets them closer to dead? And then you draw this card after you get them to 6 and you're like, no, anything but that. Oh, it was horrible. This card is terrible. And I can't believe they reprinted it. But when I think about it, it's like the ultimate bait for like new players. New players get really excited about this, man.
It's half their life. It's half their life.
10 damage for 4 mana? That's insane.
They're going to pull it off
wild.
one time, and that's going to be the story that's going to hook them on Magic. And honestly, like if this is the next 5 years of Magic, I get it.
Yeah, they spend 5 years chasing that high again, right? Like then the card did its job. And it is an absolute nonsense spell. It almost never works. Some of the ultimate feels bads from this include what are called pain lands. We have lands that will deal a damage to you to make a mana of the color that you need.
Great.
And so if the opponent targets you with Hitsu second right, you have a window to respond. You can tap a pain land, take 1 damage, and now you're at 9 and it resolves
it checks
and nothing
on
happens.
resolution.
Yeah, it does.
So
because it says if it's exactly 10. So like you can target any player with this no matter what their life total is, but it has to be 10 when this resolves.
Interesting. Yeah, like that. Sometimes cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Check on resolution too, similarly, but for the most part, it would be like on targeting, it would check then, and then it doesn't matter if they would change it. But even then, if they have like a counter spell or something, like whatever, who cares?
Exactly. This card is silly. I just kind of find it funny that they decide to bring it back. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, I avoided the biggest rake, so...
Oh, yeah, you did a good job. You're doing a good job. And it's also fun to get, like, kind of like, well, obviously that's a bait when I think a lot of new players will be looking at these cards and wondering, ooh, what do I do with this? They weren't around, 25 years ago in the trenches where I was, like, just absolutely throwing away my win rate, okay? So learn from us. That's what this is for.
They'll learn.
Hey, remember when we did the video with the dingus egg? You remember
all
that?
Too well.
Yeah. Do you remember the first card in that video? It was Demonic Tutor.
Demonic Tutor. Yes.
You remember Demonic Tutor?
It's just add a card, right?
Yeah. Just search your deck for any card. Let's see what you think of this card.
It's funny because as crazy as Yu-Gi-Oh is, we don't have straight up Demonic Tutor, just for the record. All right, Wish Claw Talisman. 1 and a black for an artifact. It enters with 3 wish counters on it. You guys love your counters.
We do.
1 and tap, remove a wish counter from this artifact. Search your library for a card. Put it into your hand, then shuffle. An opponent gains control of this artifact. Activate only during your turn. Ooh. That's bad. Wait, hold on. Let me reread this. Comes into play with 3 wish counters. 1 and tap, remove a wish counter. Search your library for a card. So you get to play this. You are allowed to tap artifacts the turn you play them, correct? They're not like creatures.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. I need to just clarify that because that's just weird to me. But anyway, so you pay 2 to play this. And that, if I believe, I think that was the cost of Demonic Tutor was 1 in a black. Yes.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. So same cost. You have to pay 1 more, and you have to tap this. And it's an artifact, so they can potentially interact with it if they wanted to. It's not like a sorcery or an instant or anything. They can interact with that too, but I think artifacts could potentially be easier to interact with. I don't know. You have to pay 1 more and tap it. You remove a counter, fine. You get to get any card, but then your opponent gets this and then activate only during your turn.
Yeah.
So you get to add... So I guess, like, the first thing that comes to my mind is why not just play Demonic Tutor? Like, I don't know if that's in the set or not, but that would just be, like, why would you play this when you could play Demonic Tutor?
So Demonic Tutor is not legal in Standard and hasn't been ever.
Oh, well, that's a good reason not to play it. Okay.
Yeah. I think ever. I'm pretty sure that at no point were you allowed to play Demonic Tutor in Standard, but check me on that in the comments. If it did happen, it was like 30 years ago, dude.
Are there other cards like Demonic Tutor?
I mean, they've tried various things. So a card that was legal
now?
Yeah, a card that is legal in Standard now is called Beseech the Mirror. It's 4 mana to search your library for any card. 4 mana sorcery. You can also sacrifice an artifact, token, or enchantment, and then you can, if the card costs 4 or less mana, you can cast it for free.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's a neat little card. It's a neat card.
Neat card.
But it's not 2 mana. It's not Demonic Tutor. It's
sure.
like double the mana, which I think would be, it's usually the rate. There's a card called Grim Tutor that was legal in Standard. That's 3 mana and pay 3 life to search for any card.
Oh, who cares?
So yeah, they put a ton of
fine.
breaks. They put a lot of breaks on that, on Demonic Tutor.
Well, and they did that with this as well. I mean, I like searching my library for any card, but I don't like my opponent being able to do that, especially when they get to do it for 2 less. That's not very fun. Unless you have some way to, like, remove it or to tap it down on their turn that they can't use it.
But remember, there's 3 wish counters. So if they search, you get the Wish Claw Talisman back with 1 more counter on it.
Sure, which means you get more... See, the difference between, like, searching a card in Magic and searching a card in Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel like is just drastically different because the power level of our cards are so individually more insane that, like, maybe a card like this is fine. I mean, well, obviously it's fine. It's in this set. Like, maybe a card like this is fine, but I don't like my opponent being able to search their deck for any card, even if I get to do it twice. I don't like it.
It really helps in Yu-Gi-Oh! That the card is free, right?
True. I mean, that's part of it. Yeah, this is a tough one. This is actually a really interesting card. I'm trying to think of, like, what the best case scenario of this would be is. It's like the card you have to search, because you're already paying 2 mana for this. So even if you're doing this early on, the card you search would have to be so worth it for you to let your opponent also be able to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're playing, like, your own counter spells or things like that, like, maybe you don't care whatever they search because you can just stop whatever they search, right? Like, maybe that's part of the game plan with this. You guys also have, like, tons of card draw and stuff, too, that, like, I don't even know if something like this is necessary. It is a rare, though. There could be bad rares. We have bad, high rarity cards all the time.
Hitsugu's Second Right was a rare once.
Oh, really? I didn't even notice that. That's awful.
Yeah.
That's the standard of older Magic, then.
Yeah.
If you're able to, since you get first search, if you're searching, like, a silver bullet card, like, say it's, like, sideboarded, right? You're in games 2 or 3. If you're searching, like, the card that's going to hose your opponent with this, and they don't have counterplay, which I highly doubt that would be the case. But if they did, and you search the card that beats them, and they can't do anything about it, then, like, this is worth it. But I don't know if, even if you get a second crack with this card, I still don't even know if that's worth it for you to do that. Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh's just conditioned us, like, in such a weird, bizarre way. I'm hoping, like, there's an interesting story with this card, but I'm torn. I feel like this could be a new card if they're trying to invoke, you know, to have, like, the set of tutors or whatever. I feel like this could be new, and they want to have, like, a tutor card that's, like, fair and maybe it's not broken, busted that every deck wants to play it, but if you want to play maybe some like specific combo deck, or maybe if you're trying to like really search for a specific card to do something, you can, but it's going to come at a price. And so I could see that. So I'm going to go with that it's new.
Okay.
Still don't like it.
Yeah,
still don't like it though.
You still don't like it? Don't think it's that good? Okay. I mean, I think that's totally fine. That's totally fair. This card it's not new in Foundations. It comes from Eldraine, which is about 4 years ago now. So it's not that old either. And I think that your analysis is like really good. Like it's really good here. Witchclaw Talisman, when it was in Eldraine, Throne of Eldraine, that set was one of the most busted Magic sets for Standard ever.
Really?
Hands down. Oh my gosh. Almost every rare in that set was completely insane, to the point that Witchclaw Talisman was probably like the third or fourth worst rare in the set.
That's crazy. Which
is absolutely wild. And the thing about Witchclaw Talisman that's difficult in 1v1 Standard is when you are behind, it's often a position of like, if you're down on life and you're down on board and you fetch something that completely wipes out the thing that is messing with you, but the opponent then gets a tutor and they grab the thing that just on the spot kills you if your life total was low enough. Then they can often take you out. But Witchclaw Talisman has had like a second life, and I'm kind of excited to see what it does in this Standard, because so much of Eldraine, for those who lived through it, got banned. So much got banned, dude. It is absolutely insane how many cards they just like had to cut through, and there was more broken underneath, and then they had to cut those down, and there was more broken underneath, and everything was so broken. I'm really excited to see if this has a place in current Standard, because people are excited about a few certain things. One thing about Witchclaw Talisman, I will say, if you open one in Foundations, you're doing okay, because Commander players will take this card off your hands, because it's always pretty fun to search for any card in your 100-card singleton deck and give this to the player who's the most behind, and maybe make a deal with them before you even do, that they will search for a certain type of card to kill a certain type of permanent, or to deal with another player. It's a very political card. In formats like Brawl on Arena, which is 1v1 100-card singleton, I love this card. I do. Because there are cards you can tutor up in any deck that say turn off all artifacts. So you use this to search for your card that turns off all artifacts against the artifact deck, and you play it, and they can't use the Wishclaw either because it's an artifact.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This definitely felt very much a Commander card as I was reading this.
I use Karn the Great Creator with this to like just shut down all artifacts. There are also cards that say opponents can't search their libraries. I think of an Ashiok Planeswalker that you can fetch with this against certain types of decks that completely hoses them. So there are really fun things you can build with Wishclaw Talisman.
Yeah, I'm kind of like torn with it, because I could see there being potential. Like if this were in Yu-Gi-Oh, how this would work is the card you have to search basically would have to like blow this up, or like make it so that your opponent wouldn't get to use it, and then it would actually be quite good, even if it had a downside to it. And so that's why I didn't like want to completely write it off. But it's like it is very contextual, I feel like. But I'm glad to see that there's like a cool story behind this card.
There is, and there's one more thing. There is bargain. So there are cards that let you sacrifice an artifact to get an additional effect. And people are excited about this card, and a card that's pretty popular right now in Standard called Torch the Tower, which just is a very simple 1-mana card that does 3 damage to a creature. Okay. But if you can bargain it. So that means you can sacrifice an artifact to do an extra damage. Its baseline is 2 damage to a creature, but you can sack an artifact to make it 3 damage to a creature. The way the timing rules work, you can put this ability on the stack and cast the Torch to the Tower and sacrifice the Talisman, and you still get to search.
That would be very Yu-Gi-Oh-esque. That would make sense. That's a cool interaction. I like that.
People are... So yeah, there's a little hype about Wishclaw. I think it's going to be really fun. Let's see what you think of this Foundations beastie here.
Oh, what the hell is this? Niv Mizzet? Did I say that right? Visionary?
Yeah.
4 and a blue and a red for a 5/5 dragon wizard. You're a wizard, Harry. Flying. You have no maximum hand size. I've noticed a lot of Magic cards just have this ability on like just generic cards. Yu-Gi-Oh only has, I think, like one card that has that. And honestly, it's probably for the better, because I think if you had no maximum hand size in Yu-Gi-Oh, it'd get out of hand. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. We like drawing cards. All right.
We do.
Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage. Okay, so like if you do something that like to an opponent, so it has to go directly to the opponent. So you'd have to like that Torch the Tower card you just mentioned. You'd have to like do that at their face, right?
Yeah, if you could torch their face, yes, that would count.
Oh, it only goes after creatures.
But, yeah. But yeah, burn.
Okay, basically. Yeah. So you just have to burn them. Yeah. So if you burn them for like 3, you draw 3 cards.
Yeah.
Well, if you're playing burn, that's like your dream, right? Because the biggest issue with burn is you run out of cards before you kill them. But I mean, are you gonna play something like this in burn? That seems pretty unlikely, unless I'm crazy. But I feel like you need to actually play your burn cards.
I
mean,
do you think this card is fun?
Seems kind of mid, to be honest with you.
Oh, Niv. How could you do Niv this way?
I don't know. Yeah, there's like the holy land of if you're able to... First, you need to get to 6 mana, okay? If you get to 6 mana, you play this guy. And then you need to have a way to deal non-combat damage to the opponent. And if you go through all of that, you get to draw cards, which is great. But in Magic, from my understanding, you have lots of ways to draw cards. And sure, it makes it so that every burn card you have basically cycles for another card. That's cool. That's great. But are you going to go through all this effort just to do that thing? And then everything else you're doing up until that point is just like, you're just minusing yourself to burn the opponent? Maybe there's another way to go about this. Like maybe you just play this in some sort of like control deck. And this is like the boss monster of the control deck.
Ooh, we're cooking.
Maybe. But even then,
maybe,
like, if
maybe
you're
you point
control,
the Bernie spells. Yeah, you point like burn spells at their creatures until you play this. Then you point it at their face.
Yeah, but like even then, if you're playing control, I think you still want to like control the board. I mean, you have to end the game eventually, and yeah, you'd be swimming in cards if you do that, and you're always going to have options. But
I know, doesn't it sound great? Scrooge McDuck in a vault of cards. Just
I'm not saying that's fun, but I feel like is this like this is a mythic too? Oh my god, is this like
it's a big shiny.
It's really hard to figure out if these cards are new or not. Like, there could be some card... Like, this is like a named guy. I'm not sure if this is a guy who's been in stuff before, potentially. And, like, even then, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does this all the time where we have, like, a guy, and then it's, like, a guy reborn, or, like, a guy... like a guy like revamped or something. Yeah, so it's like it's not like the name doesn't really mean that much here potentially. So like this could be like the 9th incarnation of this guy.
Dude, there's literally a card called Niv Mizzet Reborn.
Is there really? Shut up. Yes. No way.
100%.
Show me. 100%. I don't believe you. Show me.
You're
I don't
believe
believe
prophet. You got this wrong. You got this right no matter what. You're a prophet.
What is this?
How did you do that? You absolutely nailed that.
Can I read this? This is 5 different colors.
You want to read?
This is crazy.
Yeah,
I actually do.
You're excited about this one? Okay, yeah.
Well,
the
art. To be fair, the art looks kind of cool, like cooler. Well, they kind of have like
sick.
the same pose. Yeah, the art's really cool. I'm also kind of just interested because it's 5 colors. Sorry, I know we're going on a tangent here, but this guy's
it's cool. We got time.
It's a 6/6. When Niv Mizzet Reborn enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library for each color pair. So that would be like white, blue, black, like that. Okay.
Yep.
Choose a card that's exactly those colors from among them. Put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. That's kind of neat. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. He's a banger.
It goes into your
Reborn's a banger.
It goes into your hand.
Oh, did
But,
you want to cast them for free?
I mean, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm kind of brained that way.
You paid 5 mana for a 6/6 flying dragon and you want free spells?
Yeah, I do actually. I'm not, especially if it's 5 different colors, I would hope it was all free. But I guess if you're getting like a bunch of free cards, because you're looking at the top 10, so you'd obviously build your deck around to like hit this, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, this Niv Mizzet Reborn can draw this Niv Mizzet Visionary if they're in the same format. Look at that.
Oh, because so that it doesn't have to just it can still have generic mana. It just has only 2 colors. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a lot better.
This would be your blue-red card. Yeah.
That's a lot better. That's a cool card. Okay. Detour tangent. I can't believe I fucking. How did I do that again?
Did that either.
How did I do that again? How did I do that again?
You are a machine,
I swear I've never seen that fucking card in my life. Everyone in the comments is going to be like, oh, Cimo like fucking knows. No, I've never seen that fucking card in my life, ever. All right. Back to this guy. See, the other Niv Mizzet excites me more. I think that's kind of cool. But this one, it's like... Here's where my head's at. I feel like you would already be winning the game by the time you already get this guy on the field. It just feels kind of win more to me. That's like where my vibe is at.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I could be wrong, but that's just like, that's the vibe I get. Is it new?
Is it? Is it the name of the guild he's the head of?
Oh, that's funny. Is that why he's named Mizzet? Is it named after him?
I guess, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
mean, read the flavor text. It's Ravnica's sharpest mind and its biggest ego.
That's me. That's me, apparently. You know what? I mean, we've already seen Reborn, so now he's a visionary. Sure, he's new. I'll go with that. He's new. Final answer.
Oh, yeah. He's new. He's new. Yeah, but he's the, let me see, he's the 7th Niv Mizzet version.
7th?
And there are, yeah, 7 of them. 7 of this guy,
That's
this
crazy.
dragon. And there are 2 versions. You don't have to read all of these. The funniest part of these is that each of these say whenever it deals damage to a player, like you draw a card, or whenever you draw a card, it deals damage to a target. So Niv Mizzet Visionary goes infinite, basically burn the opponent out with himself, Niv Mizzet Perun.
That's so funny.
He's literally a dragon with such a huge brain. He goes infinite off himself. It's so stupid.
He's just too intelligent.
I do want to try, and I probably will at some point, a deck that focuses on killing all the opponent's stuff and then playing this and then turning your burn spells into draw spells like we talked about. I do think that won't be the most efficient win con. I think you're sadly right. Like, I want this card to be good. It seems like so much fun. I think it's a commander card. You can usually tell a commander card.
This seems like a commander card. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a legendary, right? So you have access to this in every game as kind of your free card in Commander. Yeah. So the idea that you could have a deck with like 30 burn spells and this, and you always have access to this one of, as long as you get the mana to play it. Now it starts to make more sense. But yeah, having the right mix of cards is probably going to be challenging, and I'm not going to love that. But it's such a cool card. Drawing like 3 cards every time you spend like 1 mana to deal 3 damage to something is crazy.
I mean, I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player, right? Like, if I'm going to see anything to draw cards, that'll get me excited. But again, I don't know. It's like I said, it just feels like by this point, if you're not already winning the game, this will make sure you win the game, but it just doesn't feel necessary at that point. I don't know.
But you
card,
like
it's
Reborn.
It's fine.
You think
I think Reborn's cool.
Is cool?
He's cool. He's neat.
Okay, I'm gonna keep that in mind.
Oh, great.
Put that one in the back of my mind there for a while. Okay. That'll be fun. All right,
it's just like a more exciting effect, I guess. That's why I like the Reborn version, because it's the whole like Gamba, right? Like, you get to look at the top 10. You don't know what you're gonna get, and you could get like 8 things, or you could get 1, like, who knows?
Yeah. Niv Mizzet Reborn is a sweet brawl commander on Arena because you have access to so many sets and so many different colored cards. You can basically build a control deck that's 5 colors. All of like the control cards are these 2 color pairs, and you play Niv Mizzet Reborn and draw like 7 cards, that are all like kill your thing. And the opponent's just like, well, I don't have that much stuff. I guess I'm dead. It's awesome. I love that card.
It's cool. Time stop. Oh boy, we know how well I've done with these historically.
Time cards. You've done okay.
Yeah. I still think Time Vault should be reserved list. I'm going to die on that hill. 4 and 2 blue for an instant. End the turn. That's it. That's all the card does.
That's it. We're done.
That's it. End the video. End the turn.
And yeah, I'll cast Time Stop right now.
This is interesting.
No, don't. Keep talking.
This is interesting. Let me read the parentheses because this might answer some question. Exile all spells and abilities, including the spell. The player whose turn it is discards down to maximum hand size, damage heals, and this turn and until end of turn effects end. Okay. Cool art for what it's worth. Neat card.
Oh, yeah.
This is interesting because, like, you guys play with time. Well, you literally play with time. You guys get extra turns. And apparently you can just end the turn at will because, like I said, Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't really do that. I think it's something they could experiment with, but it'd probably be too broken, to be honest.
Yeah, how good would this be in Yu-Gi-Oh! If there was like a trap card you just flip up and their turn ends?
Well, funny you mention that. So we don't have that exactly, but... let's just say with the degree to which the amount of interaction we have in our game, it can very much feel that way, even though the card doesn't straight up read end the turn. If you do something to your opponent at an inopportune moment, then it basically may as well just read how this card reads, because they will just pass the turn, potentially. So we have our time stops. They're just not obvious time stops, let's say. But this card just straight up ends the turn, which is neat.
It's kind of amazing that it can like if there's a big stack with 1 million effects on it and you play this, it's just none of it happens.
So it just depletes everything.
Gone.
It just nullifies everything. Yeah,
everything that hasn't resolved, all damage that hasn't been done. Maybe they attacked with 50 creatures. It's over. No damage gets done. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's kind of wild.
There was a set historically that played with chain links, your version of the stack, kind of like this. There's a card called Vanity's Call, I think is the name of it, that if a stack has 4 or... I want to say it's 4. I think it's 4 or more effects on the stack. You can activate Vanity's Call. It's a trap card, and it negates everything in the stack. So it's kind of similar to this. But
yeah, we have something like that called Mind Break Trap.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what if 3 spells have been cast, you can cast it for free. You would like it.
I like free. We like free. But funny enough, that card is bad. Vanity's Call saw like no play because getting to like a Chain Link 4 and it's a trap card is just like there's so many downsides to it. Where this, it's like it will end the turn, and you could do it if you want to on one card, or you could do it on when there's a lot of things happening. You obviously have the agency. It costs 6. It's not free, where Vanity's Call is free. The
other thing that you can just do it, like if you know you want to play Time Stop and you just don't want them to have a combat step, you can play this in their upkeep before they draw, and they don't even get to draw their card for turn.
See, that's interesting because Yu-Gi-Oh! Our upkeep is after the draw phase. So that's a big difference too. This could be degenerate potentially because of that. I mean, it's basically a turn skip at that point, right? Just, worded differently.
Yep. It does exile itself because it says including the spell. So you can't loop it. Which
you don't really have ways to interact with the exile pile.
Yeah, not like that. Okay. Not in current Magic. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer for degenerates like me.
That's interesting because Yu-Gi-Oh, even though it's things that are exiled, there are cards that interact with it. It's not as easy as the graveyard, but there are specific decks or cards that can get stuff back from exile, for instance. And that's like another just like core mechanic, I would say. I just love the art on this card. This art is sick. I guess like someone could just have like a framed picture of this in their house. That'd be cool. God, you guys have so many time-based cards, and you showed me so many of them. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if this already exists, but does it exist in this form? I'll go out on a limb. I'll say this is new. I just think the art's really cool, and I hope that it is new, and I'd be happy that it is. So I'll go with new.
No, it's that's really funny. This is, you were right on that we have so many time cards and things like that. This one is from all the way back in Kamigawa, which also gives you the idea of the art. That was one of the first like kind of Japanese inspired sets.
Oh, cool. It's like it's almost like it is the exact same art actually. It's just like different.
They reprinted the art. They didn't even print new art, which you saw another Kamigawa card, Hitsugu's Second Right. They gave it new art. So I love that they kept the art for this one. You're right. People love this art. Time Stop is a pretty wild card. No, yes. I like Time Stop is it sees very little play because that's 6 mana cost. Right? It's really hard to get to 6 mana. And it really also depends on the context of the format. If this is a fog, meaning basically you're using it to stop their combat step from hitting you, well, that's not nearly as good as if you also get their draw step or get spells off the stack. But this is also so expensive to cast that in a counter war, the opponent might be able to counter this because you usually spend all your mana on it. So if they have a counter to that, you're really screwed. I see. It's definitely a highly priced card. I don't know if it will be good in standard. I mean, it hasn't been standard legal since Kamigawa. Let me double check that work. Yeah, this has not been standard legal since 10th edition. When was 10th edition?
So that's like, what, 2 decades ago, you said?
2003? Is that right?
2 decades
2007. 2007.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we haven't been time stopped in a very long time. And I'm curious to see what it does. I like how degenerate it is. I bet it's not more than like it's not more than one of or two of though. The magic is so fast now. So many games are over by turn 4. Yeah. But it's really good in Brawl because there are a number of decks with all the kind of time manipulation effects in an Eternal format, an Eternal Singleton format. There's so many time manipulation effects that there are decks that try to just play all of them and your opponent never gets a turn. So this adds to that critical mass in Brawl, which is going to be kind of funny. Let's go from broken time manipulation to cute kitties. You like cats, right?
I'm indifferent.
You love cats. You love cats. Everybody loves cats. Look at this kitty.
This is like the elder lion. What the hell is this?
Yeah, look at this kitty, friend.
A Rabo the First Fang. That's a sick name for a card. I'll give him that. 2 and a white for a legendary cat avatar. Other cats you control get plus... Sure. Other cats you control get +1/+1.
What's the problem?
It's just funny. It's just like funny that cats are a type. And then whenever this or another non-token cat you control enters, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. So this is just like if you are playing the cat deck, like this is the guy. This is
Read the text. Read the flavor text.
It said, all cats in the multiverse trace their lineage back to him, from the meekest kitten to the mightiest lion. Whoa.
He's the daddy cat. The ultimate cat daddy.
He looks like the daddy cat.
Out there getting some, okay? He's out there getting all the lady cats, man. What a Chad. Look at this Master Chad kitty. Oh my goodness. Isn't this awesome?
So here's where I'm at with this. I got Heir Apparent wrong. So I need to learn my lesson from this. If I recall, you said Heir Apparent has... Wait, what was it? Heir Apparent's new? Old? I forget now.
Heir Apparent is a brand new card.
It's a brand new card. Okay. Yep. I thought it was old. I thought they may have like cherry picked it out of a different set. Okay.
Yeah. You thought that they were into bunnies in the past, but not that bunny.
Well, now it's cats. Are they into cats now? Like, are cats the new flavor of the... I guess it's cats and rabbits, you know? I mean, this card seems fine. Again, if you're playing the white-green card we started off in this video and you're trying to go wide, like, sure. Like, again, if you want to play the cat version instead of the rabbit, maybe play both. Maybe it's the whole animal kingdom.
Yeah, sure. Just
Hakuna
all the
Matata.
rabbits, all
Like,
the
it's
cats.
just,
Why
we're
not?
just,
Nah,
it's-
I mean, this is so definitely like all the cats. You want so much cat support for this critter.
But
Oh
are there
my
more
goodness.
again, are there already cat support? Is there more cat support than rabbit support? I don't know.
Yeah. So I will fill you in because it's kind of fun to talk about the cards, especially since they're new. This is a card I've played with. I played with this card earlier today, making a video. I set out, because Foundations is legal for 5 years in Standard, I decided to make one of my videos for the official Wizards of the Coast Arena channel, which is a gig I have. I get the fortune of doing about once a week. I make videos for them. And I tried to make a deck that was all cards that would be legal for 5 years. Like 100% of the deck was Foundations. And I went with a cat deck. So from that, I can say definitively that yes, there are enough cats in this set to build an all cats deck.
Okay. But did a Rabo already exist is the question. Or did they want to make this the build around that they took all the other cats from in order to do? That is the question.
That's a good question. Yeah.
I'm going to say, I'm going to follow the hair apparent. I'm going to say, no, wait a minute. That's what you want me to think. Hold. That's what you want me to think.
Why would I do that?
No, because you probably thought that I was going to think back to hair apparent, right? So now it's all coming together. So I think this is an old card because you probably thought it was going to be a new. I was going to think it's a new card because of the way hair apparent went. Nope, you can't trick me. This already exists. Final answer.
Bro, you swerved yourself. This is a brand new card.
No!
This is a brand new card. And I think I think if there's something you take away on this, Wizards didn't always lean into the cute. Like the Magic was kind of a dark game at many points in its history.
Yu-Gi-Oh was too.
Yeah. And like modern Magic has really leaned into the cuteness. Like there is so much more just cute shit in Magic. There's more cute stuff in Magic now than there's ever been. The whole Bloomborough set was like revolved around cuteness, and cats wasn't even a major type in Bloomborough. There are so many cats in this new set, and Arabo is a brand new one. This is a deceptively good Lord effect.
It seems like it. It seems pretty good.
Like it makes so many cats, and there's so many cats in the set that get stronger when there are more cats. So like there's a cat that says, it's a 2-mana cat that says, whenever a cat enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on this. And so you play it and it makes another one, and then it makes another one and another one. And it's just, dude. So I was playing just cats. All mono white, only white, just cats, all Foundations legal cards. So I'm not even using all the other cards legal and Standard. I got a whole rank undefeated. Like I like, had the easiest 6-0 of my life with this card today. Yeah, playing these cats is absolutely stupid. It was like busted aggro, dude. It was insane. There were anthems. There was like everything got huge, and there was
Anthem of Champions.
Nobody was ready. Nobody was ready for these cats, dude. Like this card, I was like, really? If I hadn't played this card, if we had recorded at the time we were supposed to today, that's a whole other subject. I would have said this is probably medium. I probably wouldn't have even shown it to you. But the fact that I spent the last few hours before recording clowning people with this card, it was absolutely wild.
That's amazing.
Can you believe that? Does this seem like an insane like creature type leader to you? Like, because I found out in the video we made today that Yu-Gi-Oh has like these typal cards. Would this like work in Yu-Gi-Oh?
I wouldn't say this type of effect is foreign in Yu-Gi-Oh. I think if anything, Magic just has a much greater emphasis on like synergy between like having a lot of creatures in play, especially that's combat focused. And I would say Yu-Gi-Oh for the most part, aside from like a few specific archetypes, does not. Not to say it doesn't exist. It was definitely like more prominent, I want to say, in like older Yu-Gi-Oh. But as Yu-Gi-Oh has sort of progressed, these types of effects just like don't really matter or exist. Or if they do, they're very few in between, and there's a very specific reason why they have that effect, if that makes sense. Also, Yu-Gi-Oh! Wise, we're only allowed to have 5 monsters on the field at max, where you guys can go crazy. So I think because we're limited in how many monsters we can have, that means we can't get the full value of how crazy you guys can go with these types of abilities either.
Dude, the whole point of like Commander is to make like 1 billion of whatever type you want to make. Like that's like part of the big appeal. Like just is make hundreds of these creatures. Yeah, I think this card will be super popular in Commander. So we've outed you. Yeah, we've outed you to the world. It's not really you're like cat neutral, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there an animal that you like really connect with?
Well, I mean, ironically, like I really like cheetahs, and they're technically cats. So
yeah,
but they're like I don't know, like they're still different, right? I don't like take a domestic house cat and put it up against like a cheetah. I think they're kind of different. But cheetahs and rhinos, I think those are like if I had 2 favorite animals, I guess it would be those. That's like what comes
rhinos. Rhinos, interesting. I'm gonna save that. Maybe someday.
Oh God.
But we'll keep riding the cat train. I'm going to show you another card. I think this is really funny to read, no context. I want to see what you say.
Sure. Harmless Offering. Oh my God, it's so cute.
See?
2 in a red sorcery.
Got him.
Target opponent gains control of target permanent you control. You know what's so funny about this? I was going to show you this exact same card for Yu-Gi-Oh!
What?
We have this, but it's free. It's free.
I mean, that seems good. I'm sure. Just give them something. Sure. I bet you're going to tell me what you can do with it.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be funny depending on the context. I guess I won't save this for one of our videos on my channel, but that card is hot garbage. That card is so bad.
Really? Wow. It's weird. Just giving the opponent something is bad?
Well, so you did learn in one of our videos that we have the ability to just give our opponents monsters without needing a card to do so, right? So typically that's not the only type. We have multiple cards that do that in multiple ways. So typically a card like this, I will say this is a very cute card, but typically we don't need a card to give our opponent the card. We can just give them the card through like whatever means we need to. So that sort of bypasses the need for a card like this. There was like one really bad combo deck that could play a card like that. But for the most part, it's awful. Now with you, this is weird because it's hard for me to evaluate because in Yu-Gi-Oh! This card is like unplayable and you're having to pay to play the unplayable card.
Yeah, so we pay costs for this privilege.
Right. So clearly you want to be doing there's something you are clearly wanting to give to the other player. Considering this is also a rare too, I'm surprised this is not a common because in our game, it's a common when they printed this card. So, with 0 context, I assume you're showing me this for a reason. There has to be something you want to give them to mess with them. So I'm going to say that that's probably, but it's only like some gimmicky combo. I don't think like every deck is playing this.
You don't think every deck just wants to give it stuff away? All right, you bought me. You got me on that. Let me show you some fun cards that are legal and standard today.
Sure. Demonic Pact. This is a cool card. Enchantment. 2 and a 2 black. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. This enchantment deals 4 damage to you and to any target, and you gain 4 life. Excuse me. Target opponent draws 2 cards. You draw 2 cards. You lose the game. Okay. Oh, it's permanent. Okay, so you could just give them this. That's cute. I like that. Then Archfiend of the Dross. Again, 2 and 2 black. It's a 6/6. Oh, that's pretty big. Flying, Archfiend of the Dross enters the battlefield with 4 oil counters on it. You guys and your counters, man. At the beginning of your upkeep, you love them. Remove an oil counter from Archfiend of the Dross. Then, if it had no oil counters on it, you lose the game. Yeah, so you're basically using this just to give your opponent something that makes them lose the game. I fully understand now.
Ta-da!
See, Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have those effects. If we had cards that did that, maybe that would be worth playing the version of this that we have.
I'm surprised they haven't made that yet.
It's called Xian Spy for your editor. I'm sure that they will put that up for everyone. But also, it's not any Xian Spy. It's also not any permanent. Ours only lets you do it with monsters specifically. So that could be a big difference. So like we wouldn't be able to give Demonic Pact to the opponent, but it's very funny that you can do that. Is this like a thing? Is this like a good combo deck, or is this like is this like you're coping that this actually works?
This has already, spoiler alert, if anybody didn't want to be spoiled about the Shuffle Up and Play episode, skip ahead. I've already lost the game to this.
That's crazy.
It is. But no, so Demonic Pact is a reprint.
Okay.
And so
Seems
this
like a cool card.
Yeah, this card has existed before. And there is a very famous tournament, like competitive tournament in Magic history, that utilized a combination that is, well, I'll just tell you, this is Harmless Offering is also a reprint. And it utilized this exact combo, and the player like made the top 8 of the Grand Prix, which is a
really
tournament.
That's
yeah, it's
wild.
usually got like 1,500 to 2,000 people enter these tournaments. Mm-hmm. So getting there with what is called Cat Pact. His name is Chris. Yeah, Chris Botello will forever be known in Magic the Gathering lore as the Cat Pact kid who got to the top 8 of the tournament with Harmless Offering Demonic Pact as the deck. And it's actually harder to interact with than you would think, because it goes on the stack at the beginning of the upkeep. So if you Harmless Offering the Demonic Pact to the opponent and they go to their turn, the ability goes on the stack right away. It's basically over. And that's what happened with the Arc. That's what happened to me with the Arcfiend of the Dross. The card got handed to me and I couldn't do anything in response to it. I couldn't get rid of the Arcfiend. I couldn't interact in any way. And yeah, I just got by Arcfiend of the Dross. It's like, okay, well, he was going to lose the game, and now I lose the game. That's great.
Crazy.
It's over. And I was in an insane position. I had, you know the card Omniscience? Because you did the Omniscience draft with Boxy?
Yeah, that just makes everything free, right?
Yeah, I had that on the battlefield. That is not easy to do in Standard, but I did. And
that's funny.
And all my stuff was free. I had like unlimited power, except I lost the game in my upkeep to this stupid combo.
You're not salty at all. I don't hear it.
It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. But this is a real combo that top 8'd in the past, and they basically put back in the set for 5 years. And people are really excited about it. People love like weird alt win cons like this.
It's a good story.
Look at the cat.
That too.
Look at it.
That too.
Look at it. It's a cute little patootie. So cute. I make some noise for the Cat Pack players. Would you play a strategy like that? Is that like your jam to play like cards that make you lose the game but then hand them off before you die?
It's so weird because Yu-Gi-Oh has alt win cons, but they're all bad. Like there's very rarely a time where the alt win con is ever good. So from my understanding, from everything you've showed me, like this seems quite common in Magic that there will at least be like a couple of these alt win cons like always around at any given moment. So I don't know. I think it just kind of just depends, because like Demonic Pact, like seems fine, because you could still get some value out of it, even though it has the lose the game clause. So like it's not like that's the only thing it's for, right?
Yeah, that's right. The Arcfiend of the Dross is actually like a huge creature. This card was popular and remains popular in decks that don't use Harmless Offering type effects. It's already like a tier 1 card. It just won the World Championships as a 4-of in that deck with no way to hand it off. This card will usually kill the opponent well before the oil is a concern.
Yeah, its stats are just really pushed for its cost, it seems like.
Yeah. This card is an absolute killer. Yeah. It was already a top tier card, Arcfiend of the Dross. Does that surprise you?
Not really. I mean, like, yeah, there is the downside of you losing the game, but like considering my understanding of like the power level of Magic cards, it's got really high stats for a relatively low cost. It's flying, so it dodges all the blockers. And then it also has like the drain effect too, of like if their creature's already dying, they're losing more life on top of it. It's sort of like this game of chicken, right? Where like you have to kill them, otherwise this thing's gonna kill you. And I think that's like an exciting card. So I could see it. Yeah, like Yu-Gi-Oh will have cards like this every now and then. It's not like you lose the game as the downside, but it'll be enough of a downside where it's like the card is crazy. Yeah.
Instead, you have cards that say destroy everything on your battlefield and discard your hand.
So you basically make them lose the game. It doesn't say it on the card, though, CGB.
It's more painful. It's just more painful. It may as well say that. It should say that. That would be awesome, actually.
They can't think the game is over. They have to keep playing. They don't want the game to end.
I got one more card. I'm really curious what you think of this one.
Sure. And before anyone says anything while you say that, the card I was thinking of before when we were talking about the Reborn stuff was Monster Reborn. I've shown you Monster Reborn, CGB. This was the first thing that came to my head when I was thinking of retrains. Very dumb name, but just for the record, that's where my head went at when I said Reborn, before everyone in the comments says shit. All right, anyway.
Yeah. I'm sure that will absolve you. They're not even listening anymore. They've already typed their comment. They're not going to go back and edit it. They don't edit comments. They're not going to go hit the button, edit it, and say edit at timestamp like hour plus. I don't believe him. Yeah. And if they do, that's what they'll say. They've made up their mind about you. It's over.
Kaito Cunning Infiltrator. I like how the art is going into the card frame. That's kind of cool. 1 and 2 blue. Pretty good. For a legendary Planeswalker Kaito. And it's called Loyalty, right?
Yep. You got it.
I always forget what it's called. All right, 3 loyalty. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on Kaito. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage. Okay, so that's an extra way to get more loyalty. I think that's typically an issue with Planeswalkers, if I recall. +1, up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Draw a card, then discard a card. That plays very well into the first effect. Okay. Assuming you already have a creature on the field, but you could go like 2 mana, play a guy, 3 mana, play this. You go up 1, he's at 4. That thing does damage because it can't be blocked. So then you get like extra. Okay. All right. I'm seeing it. -2, create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token. So that gives you a guy to make, which then next turn could be unblockable. And then it's 2. So it kind of like replaces the fact that it lost that. And it gives you a guy, which is fine. That also protects this as well. So like if your opponent tries to go after this, you can make a guy to protect him. I think that's probably important. -9, which is a lot. You get an emblem with whenever a player casts a spell, you create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token. Just all the ninjas. You just get all the ninjas.
I love that's whenever a player. They cast, you get ninja. I cast, I get ninja. Ninja.
This is a neat card. It's kind of cool that if you hypothetically had a, let's say, 5-power creature when you play Kaito, right? You have a 5-power creature, you play Kaito, you +1 to 4. Your 5-power guy gets in, he's unblockable. You get to draw a card, discard a card. Then he's at 9.
Ooh, it's only 1 loyalty counter per hit, not per damage.
Oh, that is a huge difference. Okay. Well, why can't you let me have fun, CGB? God, can't these things be more broken?
I didn't make the card. I think that would be interesting. I will say, in the scenario you described, you are punching the opponent for 5 and drawing and discarding, and you have a Planeswalker. Like, you're grooving. Like,
yeah, but I'm trying to, like, have more fun. I'm trying to get this emblem immediately. I'm not trying to wait.
You want ninjas. I want ninjas. We all want ninjas.
Because at minimum, this is taking, what? You have to, in the best case scenario, you go +1 attack plus another. So that's 5. Next turn, that's 7. Next turn, that's 9. And then on the 4th turn, I had to count. On the 4th turn, you get to use this -9 that just gives you a whole endless swarm of ninjas.
That's if you have 1 creature. But if you add... So ninjas are known for being evasive. And there are other, like, just pirates and there's a lot of flying pirates in blue for whatever reason. There's a lot of creatures.
Flying pirates?
Yeah, don't worry about it. But for each creature that hits the opponent, you get a loyalty counter. So if you have 3 creatures, you do get 3 loyalties.
But that's assuming they deal damage to the player, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just fixating on the fact that you can guarantee one can hit. I guess if you're going super wide with a lot of these cats or a lot of these rabbits, and now we have ninja cats and ninja rabbits, apparently. If you go super wide, you could have a way to hit with a bunch of 1/1s into your opponent and they can't block them. Then that's a way to supercharge this. So maybe you can do it. It's just in a different way that I'm thinking. Instead of having one big 5-cost thing, you have 5 1/1s that all go in and supercharge this.
I will say blocking is really hard in current Magic. Like, it's really hard. There's so many evasive tricks. There's so many combat tricks that change stats. Like, I've never felt
so you're playing
worse.
Yu-Gi-Oh now. Great.
Yeah. I've never felt worse blocking than I have lately in Standard.
I guess that's the foundation
I
they're
will
setting
promise
for the future.
you that.
No, blocking is not allowed. Blocking's not allowed.
So true. Oh, that's the foundation. Just 2 ships passing in the night. Who can do degenerate first? Yeah.
I feel like they probably want this card to be good. It just seems like, another character they want to add to their world. It's pretty low cost. It has a way to get its loyalty up pretty quickly if you already have a somewhat established field and your opponent can't block it, which then protects itself, which is important. And you can create a guy to protect it too if you absolutely have to. But especially if you have other things that have abilities that when they attack or deal damage, like that could trigger too, and Kaito can make sure that gets in to make sure that triggers. So you have you're doubling the fun in that regard. It seems like a cool card. It seems like there's a lot of neat interactions that can just add up to be a lot of value. And it's not a super high investment card. That was one of the things I hated about that Niv Mizzet card is that it was 6 mana for all that, where this is only 3.
Yep.
It seems good by itself. It seems good in in tandem with a lot of other stuff. It scales. The more things you have, the more this scales and how good it is, I feel like. And then if you get to the emblem, honestly, you probably are already winning the game anyway, and that just seals it for you, because then you're just going to have an infinite board of guys to hit in. Cool
More
card.
ninjas. Yeah,
cool
the card is very sweet.
Is it new? Is it old? I don't know.
What's your gut say?
You showed me a lot of stuff with ninjas so far in this episode. And if they're putting that stuff in and that's old, maybe this is the new guy. So I will say for my final one, I'll say he's new. New.
Yeah, I think you're graduating. This is new. Yeah, you're winning the new game. You figured out new card design, I would say. Bravo. Yeah, this is a brand new look at Kaito, who is a Kamigawan Planeswalker and always associated with ninjas.
There is other Kaitos, but this is the newest Kaito.
There's 4 Kaitos in Standard right now.
That's not confusing at all.
Dude, I don't know. Some of the characters, and this one, of course, will be around for 5 years, as we mentioned. It's absolutely wild to me. Okay, there's 3 Kaitos in Standard right now. Still a ton of them.
Oh, only 3.
But yeah, dude, I can't believe how some of these characters are getting hit over and over and over with cards and sets. But this is a new one. This card, again, if you plan to watch the Shuffle Up and Play episode, skip ahead. This card pulverized me. And again, just like with the freaking Demonic Pact thing, you lose the game on the Arcfiend of the Dross. I was set, dude. I had a board that was 100% gonna win, that nothing was going to remove.
This just sounds like a therapy session from Shuffle Up and Play for you.
It kind of is. And yeah, the unblockable, the deck was just built to make one thing huge, make one huge creature, right?
Right.
And this stupid Planeswalker just got that thing to sneak right through and punch me out. And I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. But it was way better than I thought. It kept picking up loyalty because anytime they had a flying creature as well as the one unblockable creature on the ground, it was moving up 2-3 loyalty a turn. I couldn't get it dead. It was really hard to attack. Also,
it's a ninja. It's supposed to be hard to attack.
If you attack it, you are also undefended, and they were already kind of in an aggressive stance. So this, at 3 mana, this card is aggressively costed. The unblockability is much better than I thought it was. I'm kind of scared of this card. This card's a little bugger. It's better than it looks.
I think it's cool. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
And people like ninjas. So
what do you think of Foundations? What do you think of the look of Foundations? It's supposed to be like that set that you can come back to if you've been away for a long time, but also the set that is kind of straightforward. This is Magic, so you can get younger people into it. You can get new players into it. And of course, it's ambitious that they want all these cards to be interesting and useful for 5 years.
Well, from my narrow window of looking into it, right, because I've seen a total of like 10 cards from the whole set. I mean, it seems like they're trying to check all the boxes, right? They're trying to have their Timmy cards with their Hidetsugu's second right? They're trying to just have some generically good cards, even if they're new, like Anthem of Champions. They're trying to have rabbits and cats and, just big dragons, because everyone likes big dragons, and just good cards and stuff that, sort of pays homage to Magic's history, as I've learned throughout this video. It's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, granted, there's like 700 other cards I haven't seen yet, but I mean, just from this small pool, I mean, it seems like they have something for everyone is the vibe that I'm getting. And maybe that was the whole point, right? They want to appeal to the Timmies. They want to appeal to the Spikes. They want to make sure there's something for everyone, because if it's for 5 years, right? They need to make sure that this is going to be a knockout product. And so I guess time will tell, right? I guess we won't know until 5 years have passed.
I guess you're right. My initial impressions are really strong. It's a sweet set. So thanks for checking out some of the cards with me. I really just wanted to cover some Foundations since I haven't gotten a lot of chance to talk about it. So this was really fun. Thanks for hanging out.
Of course, anytime.